So, hello, everybody. Thank you for watching today. Today, I'm joined by Jaime Lozano, whose concert is coming to the Lincoln Center, Songs by an Immigrant. I've just checked the website. It is sold out, but do check back for returns. Hello, Jaime. Thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to having this conversation with you. Thank you.
Can you start by introducing yourself and telling me a little bit about the album Songs by an Immigrant and then the concert that's coming up?
Yeah, I am a Mexican born and raised musical theater composer based in New York City. I arrived in New York City back in 2007, the very first time to do a master in musical theater writing at NYU. Since then, I have been back and forth in the city, and then finally in 2015, I moved for good with my wife here. I have a 5-year-old son that was born here. And Songs by an Immigrant, it's my passion project. It's an album about my journey and about the journey of many people as immigrants, as people following and pursuing their dreams, trying to find a better life, like finding a new home, a new family away from home. That is something quite challenging and hard to do. Like someone like me, like when I arrived here back in 2007, the first time, I speak no English at that time. Yeah. So just having that journey about struggling with the language, trying to make ends meet every single month, and now raising a bilingual kid that he's speaking Spanglish to us. And he's already like correcting our English. Oh, you're not supposed to pronounce that in that way. It's supposed to be in this way. And he's only 5 years old. So Songs by an Immigrant, the album, it's about that, about all these issues and about all these blessings at the same time that we as immigrants deal every single day.
Yeah. And kind of where did I know you just mentioned it, where did kind of theatre first come into your life then? Kind of what inspired you to go into theatre?
So again?
What inspired you kind of to go into theatre? Where did that kind of begin for you?
Yeah, it is, to be honest, I don't come from an artist family. No one in my family is related with art in any way. So when I was a kid, I didn't have the chance to study like any art related. So it was till I was like 18 years old that I had my first approach to musical theater. Actually, but I was supposed to study criminology. Yeah. Back then, so something very similar. I actually applied for a criminology school. And I decided, like, when I was accepted, but this is back in Mexico. Yeah, I don't know. Something told me that I wasn't supposed to do that, so I didn't get into the school. I decided not to enroll to school, and 1 year later, I was enrolling in a music school. And there in music school, when I was doing my first semester, I saw a post on the wall about auditions. They were doing audition for a musical, and that's where I decided to go to audition. And I sang, and I got accepted into this musical as part of the ensemble. And that was actually my very first approach to musical theater. That show was Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah. And since then, I fall in love with the storytelling through musical theater, with the power that music and lyric have together, and I start like in Mexico we don't have musical theater industry. It's not like we do. There's not like a real. They do like a 1 or 2 shows per year. It's not. They're not really an industry, like a professional musical theater industry. So I had to study by myself, like trying to find books and watching videos and all that. But once I had my first contact with musical theater, it was like I was lost. I mean, I couldn't get off of it. You know, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, and obviously the album kind of tells your kind of personal journey as well as you said, kind of the journey of thousands of others. So where kind of like did that kind of process begin?
So when I realized when I came to New York City back in 2007, that's my 5 years old son.
Right.
Just in the back. I was walking on the street, and I found on the street a flyer from a show that the guy, the flyer looks like my brother.
Yeah.
I picked up the flyer, and it was a show called In the Heights that was playing off Broadway at the time. And I didn't know what was the show about, but I see this guy, oh, this looks like kind of my brother. Let's go in and see the show. So I went to see the show, and what was my surprise that the actors and the story, they were speaking in kind of my language. They were speaking in Spanglish. They were speaking in Spanish. They were like singing through Latin rhythms and styles. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to do that was to tell my own stories was possible. That I was able to, that I could be able to tell and express all my feelings and all my journey on stage. I found, thanks to In the Heights, that that validation that we could tell any kind of story on stage, and not only like the classic white or universal story that we believe that they belong in musical theater, but every story belongs in musical theater. I mean, we are able, and we could be able to tell any kind of story. So thanks to In the Heights, I decided to focus on my own stories, on my own journey, and just like I feel that like that is my mission and my responsibility, to focus on things that are really close to me, really related to me.
Yeah, and as you just said, kind of like that responsibility, then kind of, do you kind of feel like that, not like a burden, but like important to get that story out there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's hard because we don't see ourselves a lot on stage.
Yeah.
So when I saw In the Heights, that was like a huge inspiration for me, and I hope that more people could see themselves on stage now. I mean, that's my hope when I'm writing something. I'm writing a song about people that looks like me or that have a similar journey like me, hoping that other people are gonna find themselves on those stories, and they're gonna get inspired, and maybe they're gonna want to write theater, they wanna to act, they're gonna want to sing, to perform, and that's what I do.
Yeah. Of course, and kind of like, do you think like the world's kind of getting better with that? Obviously, like with the pandemic, we've kind of just lived through. Do you think the world's kind of, and certainly like Black Lives Matter and all that, kind of, do you feel like the world's kind of getting to that stage where diversity is so important that, well, I mean, it should have been anyway, but
the pandemic definitely brought a lot of those feelings and a lot of those conversations to the table.
Yeah.
And to be honest, unfortunately, it feels like nothing has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Because you see the shows out there, and looks exactly the same, or people trying to take ownership of story that don't belong to them. I have to pass to a couple of offers. Oh, do you want to music direct this? And it's a show about immigrants, but that is told by an all-white team, for example. And I have to pass to that. So, I mean, we only can do what we can do. I mean, we as artists, what we can do is tell our stories, be passionate about that, and hoping that if we do our work and we work as a community, eventually we're going to create a change. To be honest, it's not magic. It's not like from one day to the other, the whole industry is going to change.
Yeah,
it's simple. I mean, we know this is a business, and producers, I mean, they want to make money, and they want to invest on things that they can make money. So they haven't learned. They don't know that there are other stories that deserve to be out there. Yeah. And that actually there's people that they want to pay to see those stories. I mean, yes, it's a business, yes. But we need to try to expand that. We need to be able to tell other stories, because at the end, besides being a business, it's also a way to change and save lives. I mean, art and musical theater is so powerful that I really believe that can change lives.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. But going back to you kind of as a composer and a lyricist, where does that kind of process work? How does it, I guess it's different for every song, but does the song come first, or is it the melody because of the lyrics?
Yeah, you're right. It's different with every song, with every musical, with every collaboration. Yeah. Sometimes music is first, sometimes melody is first, sometimes the hook or a lyric idea, sometimes they come at the same time. But what I strongly believe that the first thing before all of that, it's that it needs to be something that is honest.
Yeah.
That storytelling, in order that other people can relate with it, needs to be honest.
Yeah. Kind of like
everything else is gonna fall in place.
Yeah.
And he's here like singing and all that. No. And we live in a small New York City apartment. So
that's all good. It's all good. But no, yeah. It's just really interesting, because obviously like you don't really hear like the process, do you, behind songs sometimes. Kind of like, it's really interesting to kind of like hear how they kind of mold together, I suppose.
Yeah, and now that I'm talking about my son and that TV on the back and all that,
yeah,
that is actually part of the process in some way. And now during this pandemic, it has been really challenging, like being all in this small New York City apartment.
Yeah.
And doing virtual school with my son, and me trying to write a song, and then he jumping on top of me, and so it's like a challenge. But now it's part of the dynamic of writing a song, that that you are in the same room with this little boy just walking by.
Yeah.
And all that is in your music, and in your songs.
Yeah, of course. And kind of like, as you say, has that kind of like changed how you've worked, kind of being in a pandemic where you kind of have that, I guess you've had a little bit more time, but then again, like you say, you're homeschooling, so you kind of not got that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pandemic came to teach us that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, you only have today. Yeah. So wherever you want to do, you have to do it today.
Yeah.
You can wait for tomorrow to write a song. You can wait for tomorrow to do exercise. You can wait for tomorrow to eat a burger or a steak. I mean, if you you have to live today.
Yeah.
And there's like rent, like Jonathan Larson says, not day but today. Yeah. And I think the pandemic is a confirmation of that. Sometimes we want to plan the future, and we have these big plans, but we don't take care of the actual day of what we're doing today. So I think in writing and in art, in important that we need to focus on today and on today's stories.
Yeah,
that conversation that is going on out there right now, we can amplify those conversations through art. We can create a change through art. And the only chance that we have is today, not tomorrow.
Very, very true. Turning conversation though to your big concert that's coming up at the Lincoln Center. what can people expect from that evening?
As I told you before, I mean, what they can expect is honest stories. I write, of course, I don't write songs just for me to be in a room playing to myself. Of course, you want your songs to be heard for as many people as possible. But I strongly believe that first those songs need to come from your heart, from who you are.
Yeah.
So definitely what you're gonna hear at Lincoln Center is that. I mean, songs that come from my heart, from the heart of my collaborators, that you're gonna see passionate performers related with those songs and singing their hearts out, hoping that someone in the audience, maybe only one person, or maybe the whole audience, they're gonna relate with one of the songs. That at the end, that's the purpose of art. I mean, to communicate something so someone can relate with it.
Amazing. Is there kind of obviously an extra pressure when, like now, 2 months before the concert, knowing it's sold out? Kind of, does that kind of do you have that time to? Does that make it more pressurized, knowing that you've got the full audience there? You've got to put on this big show.
I mean, I'm a little sad that then people write me that they want to go to the concert and they can't anymore because it's sold out. I wish that more people could come. You know, it feels nice that we know that the room is gonna be full.
Yeah,
and I mean, and we're gonna have an audience. I mean, as I said before, I mean, of course, you write songs so that someone can relate with those songs.
Yeah,
and having a full room, obviously, it's an inspiration. I think so. It's more an inspiration than anything else, because you know that there's gonna be people on the other side listening to those songs. I mean, sometimes you are a little bit afraid. Oh, I don't know if people is gonna come to the concert, or how many people is gonna be out there. I mean, I have done concerts sometimes back in the days with 10 people in the room.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, and you have to do exactly the same. It doesn't matter. I mean, you just have to go on stage and be honest and tell those stories. It doesn't matter if it's just 10 people or 200 or 5,000. Of course, feels good to know that the room is going to be like full, and that inspire you to even go further.
Yeah. Do you think there kind of will be more dates in the future kind of with it? Because obviously, say you're getting people telling you want to come and they can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I intend to end these interviews on some quick fire questions. So
okay,
I'm going to ask you these. You don't have to answer them quick. It's up to you. What has been the favorite piece of theatre that you've seen as an audience member?
The favorite what?
Piece of theatre that you've seen.
I have so many, but as I told you before, definitely In the Heights changed my perspective about what theater could do. I mean, what kind of stories you can tell on stage. So I could say In the Heights.
Yeah, and what would be the first kind of musical theatre album that you can remember listening to, if you can remember?
The first album, Jesus Christ Superstar. Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because when I was a kid, I used to watch them. I mean, they used to broadcast the 70s movie on TV.
The film, yeah.
And I hated that movie because I couldn't understand at the time why they were singing and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like 8 years old or something like that. And it's a paradox that years later, that was the show that made me fall in love with musical theater, you know.
Yeah, that's the magic, I suppose, kind of that journey, I suppose, growth, I suppose, you go with it. If you could, though, tell your younger self one thing, what would you tell them?
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself. I think that in my case, that I found musical theater like very late. Not very late. I mean, I wasn't like too old, but I was 18 years old. Usually people that they do something related with art. They start playing piano when they are 4 years old.
Yeah.
They start singing when they're 5. They start acting when they are 6 years old. And I never had the chance. So it took me time. It took me time to find who I was.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to believe in ourselves and in our journey. We'll have a very specific journey, and we need to believe in that journey. I mean, just be committed to that.
Amazing. This doesn't have to be career related, but what would be one thing on your bucket list?
If it's musical theater related, I would definitely say a Broadway show. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, at right now, I know that Broadway is not everything. Yeah. And even if you never made it to Broadway, there are other chances. It's even like West End or regional theater or tours or But I think it's good. It's good. Feel nice to have a Broadway show. Yeah, definitely.
Of course. And if you could have dinner with any 3 guests, who would you invite?
I wish that I could meet that he passed away and it's not possible anymore. Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah. That is always a good shout. What would be the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I mean, there's many. But I would say hard work always pay off.
Yeah, it does. And my final question is a bit redundant because it's already sold out. So, but I'll ask anyway. Why should audiences come and see the concert, or why should they check out the album?
Because I think that they're gonna find themselves in some of those stories. I think because we just try to do everything from our heart, I'm sure that someone is gonna relate with that.
Yeah.
And in these very specific stories that at the same time just became universal. So I hope that someone that even is not an immigrant, or that maybe it's a second generation, third generation, or that they're not Latin, or that they're not Mexicans, just listening to these very specific stories, they're gonna realize, oh wait, that sounds familiar. Yeah, I can relate with that. That moved me. So I mean, that's my hope, and I think that people is gonna connect with that.
Brilliant. That wraps it up. Brilliant. So I thank you for your time today. I'm going to put links down below for, well, the ticket website in case there's returns, and to the album. So people should go and listen to it because it's brilliant, and check it out. Jaime, thank you for your time today.
No, thank you, Mark. It has been really my pleasure. Thanks for your time.